Do y'all remember Slam Ball? The basketball trampoline hybrid game that I really didn't do a ton of research on it, but from what I recall, it was active in the mid 2000s and then kind of went on a bit of a hiatus and then came back about a year ago. And I guess I'm just gonna do this cold open about this recent experience I've had rediscovering this sport. And I remember being like 13 coming across highlights of slam ball, and it's like every 13-year-old's dream basically of a sport. It's basketball but with trampolines, so they're doing dumb ass dunks from like the 3-point line, dunking on top of each other, tackling each other. It's full pads, well, not full pads, but they got like helmet type shit on now. Look like mini guardian caps and whatnot. But the reason I'm starting off with this is because my rediscovery of this sport came via YouTube recommended videos of highlights. So I watched a highlight clip, was like, oh, I remember this. I remember like thinking that this was like the coolest shit ever. I wonder how it is now. So I tuned into the championship game between Mob and Slashers, and I can see why this was a failed experiment and why it probably will not continue much longer. It loses its charm super quick. I feel like it's definitely something that you have to be there to really enjoy. Like I could see this being like a traveling thing that like people could attend, but in terms of like TV coverage, which I don't know if they really get TV coverage, but I mean, hey, I'm watching it on YouTube, but yeah, but like as you can see, Mob for whatever reason is just miles better than Slashers. They were up by like 25 within the first quarter and just never looked back. And yeah, so that's really it. I just wanted somewhere to share my recent rediscovery of this. So thanks. Welcome all, and welcome to the most unfocused internet show possibly in the history of the world, Fear of Boredom, hosted by Freddie of Freddie Eats Media. We made it, episode 2. Hopefully this one is actually released on time. I appreciate anyone who took the time to watch episode 1 of Fear of Boredom, and if anyone who saw that happened to be watching this, special thanks to you as well. I've got an exciting show for you all today. I'm still not as prepared as I may have hoped, but due to not having episode 1 out until Wednesday, when I was aiming for Monday releases, I was working with a short week. But nonetheless, I'm really excited for what I have for you all today. Today being the 3rd of March, 2025, where we are switching up the format with this second episode. We will begin with the news before taking a stop at the fixation station and finally concluding our program with current events. If this is your first time here, I'll try to make sure to explain myself along the way, but if you don't know, this show just kind of bounces all over the place with different ramblings and just different feelings on fixations I may have at any time. So with that, welcome to the show. To begin our segment of the news, let's take a look at this past weekend's box office report. So once again, at number 1, it's not much of a surprise, Captain America Brave New World, garnering $14 million this particular weekend with a total of $163 million. Now, with the number of reshoots that this film had, I'm sure this is still going to have to make up a little bit of ground to even break even. Number 2, we have the first week of Last Breath, bringing in $7 million. I don't know much about this film, but kudos. Number 3, we have a film that I've actually seen that we will get to later on in the program. For its second week, The Monkey brought in $6 million and has now made a total net gross of $24 million, with according to some internet searches, a budget of only 11 million. That is a huge win for Neon. At number 4, Paddington in Peru secures a spot in the top 5 for another week on its third week of release, bringing in $4.5 million with a total of $31 million. And to round out the 5th spot, we have Dogman, once again with $4.2 million this particular weekend, garnering a total gross of $84 million. I still don't know why I take interest in this, but you have to watch, so I mean, skip ahead if you choose. Now we will transition to the news segment. Now, week by week, this segment, as well as others, will vary depending on effort, time, and just other factors. But today we are going to spend a little time on each topic, but not too in depth, a sort of rundown style. I'm not going to be fake through any of this. If I have thoughts, I'll voice them, but if not, then we'll just keep it rolling. So, Kathleen Kennedy confirms that she is not done with producing films. She still has a few years left on her Star Wars contract, but we also have a confirmation on Ryan Gosling starring in Sean Levy's Star Wars film. At least that is what a lot of the conversations are alluding to. This story comes from Deadline, and not gonna lie, I kind of have not been keeping up with Star Wars since episode 9, so it's a movie, so I'll probably more likely to see that than the 3 or 7 Disney Plus shows. So next we have our first look at Shrek 5 with a little teaser trailer. This caused a lot of uproar in the internet, and even my girlfriend immediately watching it did not appreciate the animation style. It didn't offend me immediately as much as it did everyone else, but maybe next week I'll dive in more into some thoughts. I was going to do a current event about just like Shrek specifically and whether or not they need a 5th film, but we'll save that for next time. But I mean, I don't know, like, I guess like it's Shrek, you know. Next, we have our first image from the Green Lantern Corps TV show that will be on, I believe, Max. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited for what the DCU is building, and this seems cool. I don't know much about either two actors, but I'm excited for just superhero content. And then to round out our news segment, we are going to be talking a little bit about some sports. The first one being rather sad news. Joel Embiid is ruled out for the remainder of the season. So this has caused a lot of conversation on whether or not this could potentially be the beginning of the end in Embiid's career. And I'm not going to speculate one way or another, but as a self-proclaimed Celtics fan and usually rooting against the 76ers for most of the time that I've been a basketball fan, this does suck. Like, I've never even really particularly been a fan of Embiid himself, but as a competitor, you hate to see that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not playing him, but like the idea of not watching him again, like especially after seeing him in the Olympics, that would really suck. So hope that isn't the case, but yeah. Next, Deebo Samuel was traded to Washington. I do not know what the package included, but Jaden Daniels and Deebo sounds pretty cool. And finally, some local breaking news. The Bengals have officially placed a franchise tag on T. Higgins. This will secure T. Higgins for at least the next season, and as a Bengals fan, that makes me happy. That will do it for the news for this week, and now we will be taking a lengthy stop at the fixation station. Now, for those unfamiliar, the fixation station is where I have selected pieces of media across different mediums that I focus my attention on and report back to. This is all done with a selection of wheels in our wheel segment, and last week to kick off this series, we selected the artist A$AP Rocky, the Avengers Academy Fear Itself comic run, the Max original Dune Prophecy, and the Creepshow film franchise. So with that, we'll start with my reflections through the first week. Alright, so I just finished my listen through A$AP Rocky's, at least his albums. I didn't listen to every single song, but I've listened to all 4 or 3 albums, including his first mixtape. And this was fun. This was really fun to do, to go back and listen just through all of it. I really wasn't sure if I was going to get it done in time for this first episode, but happy to note that I did. And yeah, we'll kind of just jump right into it. I basically did every album that is available via Spotify, and now I only did the ones specifically ASAP Rocky, so I didn't listen to like any ASAP Mob albums or anything like that. So we will begin with his mixtape Live Love ASAP. Now, I remember when I believe it's only been available on Spotify for like a couple years, and I remember I listened through half of it when it first like was added to Spotify, and I thought about then, what I think about now is that, so Purple Swag, I believe, had to have been the first song I'd heard by ASAP Rocky. And I don't know if I was necessarily that big of a fan of it because I wasn't really familiar with that kind of psychedelic type rap music. I'd never really listened to that at the time. So when I was exposed to this, it was definitely different, but it piqued my interest enough to where later on we'll talk about how I further just became an ASAP Rocky fan. But definitely Purple Swag was the first song I recall hearing by him. Now, the album as a whole, it's a great like outing. It's a great first outing, a great introduction to a very impressive career. And the only really knocks I can give it is it can get a little redundant, specifically sometimes in his flows and rhyme schemes can feel kind of like the same across songs, but even still, it's very enjoyable. I had a great time revisiting it. My favorite songs, I have 4 off of this: Bass, Acid Drop, Roll One Up, and of course, Purple Swag. If I had to give this a rating, I'd say 8 out of 10. I think that seems fair. I don't know if I've rated anything yet on this show, but the ratings are completely arbitrary, just based off vibe, so don't get too hung up by those. Which next brings us to Long Live ASAP. Now, this album definitively made me an ASAP Rocky fan. Upon my re-listen for this episode, I had just gotten back from a trip to the dispensary, so that led to a pretty fun experience to an album that I already have a lot of love for. I gotta say, I listened to Angels probably about 4 times, including just the instrumental. That Imogen Heap sample is like to die for. So I I mean, I don't know really what I can say about this album, especially this being like a debut album. It's near perfect in terms of like other rap first outings that I can think of. There's nearly no skips. I feel there are like some weaker songs though, but they still bang to some extent. And it's hard hitting beats, great production for that matter, and it's a vast improvement on Rocky's flows and his overall rapping from his initial mixtape. Now, the favorite songs for this one, I have kind of an extensive list. There's others. I enjoy probably every song off of the album, but these ones are specifically my favorite. Long Live ASAP, excellent opener. Like, sick, hard hitting opener to this album. I love it. Pussy Money Weed is really fun. Level, Fashion Killer, that one is like specifically special to me and my girlfriend. Like, we listen to that song all the time. Love that song. I rewatched the music video for that as well. Awesome music video. I love it so much. Ghetto Symphony, that song rips. That song is so sick. I like forget how awesome, cause it's not one that I like come back to, but because like if I'm just like shuffling my playlist, it's not one that I guess has came up as often. But revisiting it, that song is so good. Um, Suddenly was a very important song to me when I was younger and like first becoming a fan of this album. So I really like that song. Jody's great, and of course Angels. Also, just gonna give a little props to Wild for the Night. I know I don't think we're fucking with Skrillex as much anymore, but that song with him and Skrillex is kind of a guilty pleasure. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give this album a 9 out of 10. Next we have At Long Last ASAP. This one I feel is like it's definitely the album with the most vibe to it. There's some songs I'm not huge on, but the ones that work go crazy, right? There's also some like really funny quotes for the notes section of this one. I just have quotes from it. I treat these girls like they sex dolls. That's fucking insane. Flacco, what are you doing? Um, and then my favorite one, I don't even remember which song this is from. I wish I would have quoted it, but ain't nothing better than a pretty big forehead bitch. Love that. Um, I have to think he's talking about Rihanna, but I'm not gonna put that out there. But that's really really funny. Uh, I really like this album. It's one that I've came to appreciate more recently because I've kind of, if there's one thing about me, it's that I'm a creature of habit. Just always has been. So for a while, it really was just Long Live ASAP was like my album, and I just listened to that on end. Like if I was listening to ASAP Rocky, I just wanted to listen to that album. So this is one that I came across much more recently, and like within the last year or so. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I have to be in the right vibe to like really put it on, but there's some really awesome songs on them. My favorites in particular being Canal Street, LSD, JD, Lord Pretty Flacco Jody 2, and Electric Body with Schoolboy Q is really fun too. I'm probably giving this one an 8. Probably like I think it's right on par with the first mixtape. Like there's things I really really like about it, but just some things that maybe make certain songs not for me. Um, Testing. I think Testing is probably his most impressive album upon re-listen. It's got like the hardest hitting beats. I think it has some of his best songs are on this album. It shows his real maturity as an artist. I had a great time re-listening to this. I've re-listened to this one and At Long Last today, and like the whole time that I was, maybe this also is affecting my viewing a little bit or my just reflection, but the whole time I'm listening to At Long Last, I'm just thinking about getting the Testing because I love Testing so much. Because so Testing, I remember when this first came out, like I had like, I think it was still an iPod, but I bought this album like the day after it came out, and for whatever reason, it didn't hit with me when I first listened to it. And it's another one that I came back to maybe within the last couple years, and I don't know what the fuck I was thinking because this album rules. It's probably better than Long Live, but Long Live I've just had more time with. But I can definitely see me just like over obsessing with this album. My favorite songs in particular are the ASAP Forever remix. Fuck Sleep is so 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 good. Praise the Lord, Buckshot, Guns and Butter, Purity, Black Tux, White Collar. I could probably put every song on this honestly, except the one with Kanye. Um, and yeah, I'm giving this probably a 9 out of 10. The only reason is like maybe Kanye. I can't put I can't give a 10 to an album that has Kanye on it right now. If I've listened to it recently, but yeah. So I thought it would also be fun if I had a little mini kind of hidden thing at the end of this segment where I talk about something else recent with ASAP Rocky, that being his recent acquittal for his gun trial, his assault charge that was on him. So I didn't follow this too intently when this was happening. There's a lot of other crazy fucking things going on if you don't know. So I didn't really, like, I didn't have my like nose on the ground during all of this. Everything that I know, I basically just read on court TV within the last like couple of hours. So, and from everything I read, it basically just came down to the accuser just like giving different information at different times, not really keeping his story straight. There's no fucking way that ASAP Rocky has a prop gun on him at all times, allegedly. Like, there's no way. I mean, maybe there is, whatever. I'm not gonna accuse not, but I'm happy he's free, but it's kind of crazy. That dive into Rihanna's arms was to die for, I gotta say. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of apparently it was a whole shit show between the attorneys. I might like go even deeper into it, but just reading through everything, it just kind of mainly came down to just the dude telling one thing, telling another thing, not being clear about like deleting texts that served him as the aggressor, shit like that. And yeah, unfortunate, but I mean, ASAP's free, Rocky's free. So we have Don't Be Dumb apparently coming out soon. Very, very excited for that. There's other songs that I would love to talk about that he recently came out with. I really like Taylor Swift. I thought that was really good. There was another one, I can't think of the name of it now, but um, yeah, but that was my ASAP Rocky like reflection. I'm very excited to see what artists we have to start for the wheel segment this week. So yeah, thanks. So this week I was only able to get through one issue, and that was number 14 of the 2010 Avengers Academy run. So I figured I would just update where I'm at right now, because I'm not very familiar with the Avengers Academy, and if you recall, this was supposed to be had something to do with Ant-Man. Gonna just preface right out the gate that this is more so of a giant man story. It's still Hank Pym, so I'm kind of breaking the rules. I didn't know that going in. I didn't really read up on it before I chose this run, but nonetheless, we're just gonna ride through it. It's only about 6 more issues that I need to read. So the story is written by Christos Gage, and the artist is Mike McCone, and it covers the Avengers Academy, whose members are Giant Man, as I mentioned, who is the leader of the team. And then the other members are Tigra, Quicksilver, Justice, Speedball, Jocasta, Finesse, Hazmat, Metal, Reptile, Striker, and Veil. And issue 14 kind of does a lot of good things in establishing the team traits, especially for that being the first issue that I jumped into. It did a really good job at kind of catching me up to speed of all the characters' dynamics. Uh, in this issue, they try to make up for themselves and kind of they at this point in time, no one really takes the Avengers Academy seriously, so they're looking for opportunities where they could show their true strengths and really be taken seriously by the larger superhero world. And by doing this, they were trying to take on Electro and were surprised by the fact that he was actually working with the rest of the Sinister Six. So their plan goes horribly wrong. They're turned out to be incredibly outmatched, and it ends up leaving Tigra and Reptile injured. Obviously, this is a complete failure for the team. But what's really captivating, where I think that the rest of this is going to go within the Fear Itself storyline, is that the issue ends with Hank Pym accepting fault for not having the team prepared and not having them ready. And he feels that he should have, he is at fault for not being a true leader to them and being the best mentor possible to them. And that I think does a great job at kind of, I'm gonna guess, setting what his arc is gonna be and why this is an important Hank Pym story. So yeah, I look forward to my continuation of reading this, but that's where I'm at right now. So I'm not even gonna lie to you, I didn't get through a single episode of Dune Prophecy. I didn't even start an episode. I didn't even open up Max to attempt to watch an episode. It just wasn't anything that I was trying to do this past week. I'm so sorry. I hope to have more next week. Okay, so I had a lot of fun with the first Creepshow movie. If I failed to mention in the first episode, I don't believe I did, but it's an anthology film in collaboration of George Romero and Stephen King. So there are about, I think, maybe 6 or 7, maybe short films within this one piece. And I had a lot of fun. I'm not super educated in 80s horror, but this felt very much what I would expect of that. Um, I think the humor mixed with the pretty gnarly practical effects with the gore and just the different like scenarios of each story makes for a very, very entertaining watch. I think that the main struggles of this film, let me stop picking. I think the main struggles of this film are probably something more personal to me. I find myself with anthologies once I get through a couple of the stories, I start kind of feeling almost like it just starts to feel more like a slog. And that's nothing to say against the actual stories within this film. I think they're all very entertaining in their own right. But That's probably the one thing that I have to say kind of faulted my experiences. Once we got about four of these stories in, I was kind of like checking the time, seeing how much more I had left, and it wasn't because I wasn't enjoying it, but just I don't know, maybe it's taking in all the different stories and all the stuff at once. You almost need a break. It's like binging a TV show almost. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I loved the score of this film. I think the animated sequences are very cozy. I think the kind of editing style to make it framed like a comic book was very neat. Arguably better than Ang Lee's Hulk. I mean, I didn't say it, but maybe. Uh, I do want to say this is, I believe, my first Romero film. So, with that in mind, I definitely want to check out more of his work. There are definitely more famous pieces that he's done in the past, but this being the first, I think definitely gives me, at least I would assume, a decent idea of what his style might look like, and I'm very into it. The vibrant colors mixed with like harsh shadows during the kind of dramatic, horrific sequences was stuff that I was eating up the whole time, and I would say that my two particularly favorite stories were Father's Day and The Crate. I found The Crate very entertaining, especially the kind of twist ending at the end. I was a big fan of. But yeah, I was only able to get to the first one of this. There are two more that I do plan to watch for this series. I can't say I'm looking forward to them because according to now, I'm gonna let my own opinions kind of formulate, but in terms of like the online conversations of this, one seems to be unanimously everyone's favorite, and then two and three kind of go down from there, I would assume. But there's also a big gap between the second and the third one. I think if I recall, the second one still came out in the 80s, but the third one came out in like the 2010s, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so that was my feelings of the first Creepshow movie. So yeah. Okay, so I wanted to add a section at the end of the fixation station segment where I can just talk about other things I viewed within the past week and take some time on those. I'll start with the film The Monkey that I got to see in theaters yesterday with my girlfriend. First time out in the theaters since I guess it had to be January, like early January, when we saw Wicked for a second time, and then the time before that was Wicked again. So last two times I've been to the theaters, I saw Wicked with my girlfriend, and yeah, we were really looking forward to this. I'll touch a little bit into the experience that we had. We first off stopped at a liquor store, got a couple shooters a piece for us, hit those in the parking lot before we went in. I took a couple rip skis. We got a couple seltzers for each of us for the movie, and we had a great time, man. And this was such a good movie to like kind of return to the theater to. It's only been a couple months, but still, that's a long time for us. Sometimes we were going at least a couple times a month at some points, and I had a great time with this one. I think it's funny. I've been watching a lot of horror comedy on accident recently, and this one, the comedy really worked for the most part. There are some dialogue issues that I have, but if you don't know, the story follows two twins who are kind of cursed with this toy monkey that causes a bunch of random Final Destination type deaths around them, and they feel that they get rid of it for a long period of time, and then 25 years later it kind of reintroduces itself into their lives. And there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of humor, a lot of really gnarly kills throughout. I think the performances are really well done. Osgood Perkins is behind this one. If you've seen Long Legs, then you've seen some of his work. I wasn't the biggest fan of Long Legs. I enjoyed it, but didn't really give as much of the hype as it had kind of received. I wasn't on that end of it, I would say. But this one is definitely miles better, I think. I think this is a better showing of his kind of creativity and his craft, in my opinion. I think it's shot really well. And yeah, I had a great time with this. I would probably give it. I mean, it was the first viewing, so I don't want to go too high. I'm going to say an 8 out of 10. I think it was really good. Other things I watched, I'll touch a little bit more on the Slam Ball Championship game that I watched in its entirety. Um, it's funny, I didn't know. So Marshawn Lynch, I failed to mention, is one of the commentators for this sport, and I don't know, man. It kind of seems like he just like shows up, and like I have a very small sample size, but if this is still going on, it is not going to last long, in my opinion. But the mob sort of kind of just ran away with it for a majority of it. Yeah, like they were calling fouls throughout the game, and Marshawn's just like, "What do you mean foul? Like, what? There's fouls? Like he doesn't even understand the rules." So it does make for a bit of an entertaining watch, but it just isn't it. Like I could see 13-year-olds loving this, but if you're it loses its charm really really quick. And then lastly, I want to give a special shout out to, I mean, it's not me shouting them out, but just a YouTube channel that I watched that I seen a video of them from before. It was a documentary that they did on an arsonist. The account was originally called Real Horror and has now changed their name to Abstract. And they just recently put out a documentary on Flight 93, the United Airlines flight that the passengers took over and crashed in a field during 9/11. They like kind of took back ownership of the plane that was, they say, was charted to hit the Capitol building, if I'm not mistaken. So I just want to give props to just that channel in general. The two videos that I've seen from them is some of the best documentary type content that on YouTube or not. Like the storytelling, the emotional weight that is felt throughout how they tell the story is really quite impressive. I kind of want to touch on this a little bit just because I find it interesting. So I was born before 9/11. Like I was alive during 9/11, but I was 7 months old, and it's it's media like that video and other forms of media that I've seen that truly encapsulates the fear that was felt during that time, where I start to feel like an asshole for how I grew up just kind of memeing on the entire event as like edgelord teenagers did. Not that I was one of those, but I mean, like, it's hard not to come across a TikTok that will end with a shock factor of someone looking at the TV with 9/11 and screaming and not finding that kind of funny. You know what I mean? So like, but stuff like these videos that really make me reflect and wonder if I'm an asshole in that. So uh yeah, I just wanted to give props to that video. It's really well done, and I think more people should watch it. Yeah. So, because I didn't get to experience as much as I wanted this past week, we only have one wheel to do for this week's wheel segment, and we'll quickly kick it to that. So, because we only have to fulfill the artist selection in the fixation station, I'm just going to handheld the wheel segment. So, yeah, without further ado, let's see what artists we're going to dive into this week. Round and round, and stop, stop, stop. Oh, no. Okay, so background, I was a big fan of 070 Shake. She was kind of a like Kanye disciple type, and yeah, I haven't returned to their music in quite a while, so this ought to be interesting. Well, I know we had fun, but that's going to conclude this week's edition of the Fixation Station. But don't fret, next we have some more ramblings on today's current events. The segment where I take time to vent about current happenings in the world or my personal life, and more so how it affects me, because we all know that's what really matters. Today we have a recap of last night's Academy Awards, further dive into my fandom crisis, and finish off with some light opinions on the recent meeting of Ukrainian President Zelensky and Donald Trump. It's gonna be a fun one. Okay, so for the first current event, I figured it's only fitting that since the Oscars were just last night, that we kind of go over the Oscar winners. Now, I've only seen, I think, 3 of films that were nominated for Oscars, so this will be fun. I used to be really into the Oscars. I plan to kind of touch on maybe some of my favorite moments from like when I used to watch it and follow it, but I wanted to give just recognition for the winners and kind of if I have any thoughts, then we'll just go from there. But we'll start with best original score went to The Brutalist, Daniel Blumberg. Um, I want to see this just for I'm interested in Adrian Brody's performance as we'll get later on, and so I'm confused. I thought that this was like a mini series by how long it was, but I guess it's just a long as fuck film. Anyways, best international feature went to I'm Still Here by Walter Sales. Um, best live action short was I'm Not a Robot. So I have not seen any of the films that I have mentioned so far. Best visual effects went to Dune Part 2, a movie I've seen, a movie I've seen. So yeah, I mean, it's great. Uh, I'm a big fan. Cool. It was up against Alien Romulus, Better Man, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. So I thought maybe Wicked might take that, but I think it's fitting that it goes to Dune, personally. Best Sound also went to Dune Part 2. So the ones that this was up for was Complete Unknown, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. Uh, sure. I mean, I really love the sound in Dune Part 2, so good for it. Best documentary feature went to No Other Land. Best documentary short went to The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Congratulations. Best original song was El Ma from Amelia Perez. So I hear a lot of memes and jokes in regards to Amelia Perez. What are your thoughts? Is it worth the watch? Should I check it out? Should I add it to the wheel? It's probably already going to get added to the wheel. I'm probably going to go through and add all the Oscar winners to the wheel and then also have a specific slice where it'll be like Oscar selection so I can pick one from. I'm fucking rambling. Anyways, um, best production design went to Wicked. I think that is very deserved. I did also see Wicked, so I think I the the aspects that weren't CGI, not that the CGI was bad. I did think it was pretty impressive, but the specific sets that they built was super well done. I was very impressed with that. Best film editing went to Anora, the first of many times that I'm sure we will be saying Anora, by Sean Baker. He did the Florida Project, if I'm not mistaken, which I loved that movie. So congratulations to him. Best makeup and hairstyling went to The Substance, another movie I've seen. Yes. Went up against A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, and Wicked. I didn't know Nosferatu was nominated. That's very interesting. Best adapted screenplay went to Conclave, Peter Strahan. Strahan, I don't know, Strahan. Best original screenplay again goes to Anora, Sean Baker. Congratulations. Best costume design. I mean, I see. Honestly, I didn't see Gladiator 2, but I could see where that could give it a run for its money. And a Complete Unknown being a period piece, costumes are super important in that. But I haven't seen it. Wicked. All right, fair, fair, makes sense. Makes sense. Best animated short goes to In the Shadow of the Cypress. Best animated feature goes to Flow. Is that the like cat on the boat movie? I see people freak out about this movie once every couple of weeks on Blue Sky, so I guess it's worth the watch. Best cinematography goes to The Brutalist. Guess I gotta keep this one on my radar. I just don't have like a day and a half to fucking sit down and watch a movie. Best director, Sean Baker for Nora. Congratulations. Best Supporting Actress goes to Zoe Saldana, Amelia Perez. I believe this is the second Oscar that Amelia Perez had won, the other one being the Best Original Song. Which, hold on, let me go back to Best Original Song real quick. Oh no, I guess not, because it's not original, it's Broadway, so that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, never mind. Uh, Sidebar over. um, so Best Supporting Actor. Kieran Culkin for Real Pain, the Jesse Eisenberg movie. This one I've wanted to check out for a while. Damn. Okay, so he has an Oscar now. He's a Culkin with an Oscar. Who would have thought it would have been him? But that's Excellent. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Macaulay too. Not to like, I wasn't trying to diss him or anything. He seems to be very happy too. So awesome for both of them. Best actor Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. So that was what I was kind of hinting to earlier. So I like him when he's good. So the fact that this is another Oscar-winning performance of his, definitely probably worth to check out. Best actress goes to Mikey Madison Honora. So I need to look into this because what I know about Sean Baker is that he usually uses like non-famous actors in his roles. So the fact that Mikey Madison for Honora won makes me wonder, like, is she even a professional actress, or maybe she has to be now, right? Best Picture goes to Honora. So yeah, that is all of the Oscar winners. There was a couple Oscar related things I kind of wanted to touch on. I'm trying to find my notes really quick if they can pull up, but they're not wanting to pull up for me. Why won't they pull up for me? This is excellent show making. I'm great at my job. Oh yeah, I wanted to relive the cringe of like I think it would have been 2020 Oscars where I was passionately rooting for Joker to win Best Picture. Um, I'm not proud of who I once was. I've done a lot of growth as a person, and I just wanted to formally apologize to you now because of that. If this invalidates any future film opinion that I have, I completely understand your reasoning. But I felt I owed it to you if you watch this far that I at least give you that bit of honesty. So, um, my favorite, my least favorite Oscar moment. Okay, so this is one I specifically want to talk about. So, I'm a big fan of La La Land. I did not watch those Oscars, like where the La La Land Moonlight mix up. Did not watch that. The one that I did watch though was the one right after Chadwick Boseman had died, and he was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I watched that movie because I like Chadwick Boseman. I wanted to see his final performance, especially if he was nominated for it. So I checked it out. I believe it was on Netflix. So he's fantastic, super super great. So I watched that Oscars, and that was one of the main things I was looking forward to, as I'm sure many people were. And they did something different, I remember, with how they were revealing the winners. Usually, obviously, they always end with Best Picture, but this time they were hinting at ending with Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor, which whenever he was nominated for. I believe it had to have been Best Actor in that case. And then, so they call Best Picture. They hint, they tease at Best Actor coming up after the break. And then after the break, they announce Best Actor, and it's Anthony Hopkins for The fucking Father, which I haven't seen yet, and I've heard nothing but great rave reviews about his performance in that film. I'm sure it's ultimately deserved, but I just thought it was in fucking insane when they like used Chadwick's death to kind of keep people watching until the end, and then he didn't win ultimately. And I don't know, that's one that I like to think about every now and then that I don't think enough people talk about. So shame on the Academy for that one. And all this goes to say, award shows are stupid. I don't know why we like them. I don't know why I enjoy them, but I do. And I enjoy looking at the art that the elitist class feels is reigns true supreme. But all right, so again this week during the current events, I'm going to have a portion where I'm just talking about my struggles with sports fandom, specifically like with sports where I don't have a local team. So I grew up a Boston Celtics fan, like from the point I was like 12 years old. I like the Celtics. I've continued to like them up to this point, and this kind of came to a climax, obviously being when they won the championship last year, and it kind of started a lot of my feelings, a lot of the turmoil that I feel right now. I feel like kind of kick-started after that because I didn't feel as excited as I thought I would. So I've seen my favorite college team win the championship before, right? I've seen the Bengals be in the championship. Obviously, they lost, but them being there, the excitement I felt of that far outweighed the excitement I had for the Celtics in the finals. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of reasons to lead up to this. Obviously, me not being local to Boston probably helps, and me not really having that many like-minded people around me within that fandom to kind of keep me motivated surely helps as well in my kind of crisis I'm having. But I don't know, but there's other factors. Like, I really want the Lakers to succeed now. Luka and LeBron is some of the funnest, like, most entertaining basketball I've seen in a long time. And I don't know, I think it'd be really, really cool to see that team win, especially with LeBron not having that many years left. Supposedly, possibly it being extended now with Luka's inclusion on the team. But that's another thing. It's like there's other teams that I like the players a little bit more, that I like the narrative surrounding them a little bit more, that I think it would be more fulfilling to see win sometimes. And another thing is, like, a lot of the content creators, or there's several that I'll listen to that are fans of other teams, and I start growing in a bit of an attachment because those are the teams that I'll hear about the most because I return to that content the most. So, like, teams in Detroit, I've grown an appreciation for. I was rooting for the Lions when the Bengals missed the playoffs last year. I was a Lions fan throughout the playoffs, basically. I think what the Pistons are doing are really exciting. It's funny, my dad actually texted me a couple of days ago saying that he's looking for a hockey team to root for. He really wants to get into hockey. And yeah, we have the Cyclones, but that's like a lower league type deal. I'm not super familiar with like hockey specific, so don't kill me. But we have the Cyclones, but we wanted to look for like an NHL team. I think right now we're settling on the Minnesota Wild because he had it narrowed down to Chicago, Boston, and Nashville. Nashville colors suck, and I don't want to root for a team called the Predators, to be for real. Chicago, similarly, don't want to root for a team called that, I guess. And Boston, I already deal with the hate of being a Boston fan in one sport. I don't know if I want to subject myself to that again, to be perfectly honest. So, but we were just looking at other jerseys, looking at other colors, and I think we've came to a consensus that the Minnesota Wild gear is super sick, and we really like it. And yeah, I don't know. So I guess that's the hockey team I'm rooting for now, and that will be fun because I have another person to get excited about that with. But also in that, there was also like that Celtics bond there a little bit as well, and that kind of, I'm not going to get too personal on it, but in ways that also negatively affected my feeling about the Celtics in some ways. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard when it's not a local team. As I get older, the more I just want to root for what's local. I also, even UK, I rooted for UK my entire life, right? But I've never gone to Lexington. I've never been on campus. I've never gone to Rupp Arena. Everyone, I still have that camaraderie of everyone around me is a UK fan, but I don't know. It's cool. I more so identify with Cincinnati than I do with Lexington. So it's things like that where as I've gotten older, I've become more of a homer in that sense. And yeah, so I don't know. If the Celtics go on a run again, I will be there to cheer them on, but it doesn't feel the same. They're not the most exciting team that I have anymore. And at a time they were. I was a big Isaiah Thomas fan. Another reason that kind of goes into my falling off of them is the treatment of him really pissed me off. And Kyrie came in and just kind of fuckered up a bunch of things. Granted, I was a fan at first. I had a t-shirt. I'm not gonna lie, I had a Kyrie t-shirt, but man, those are dark times, but they were exciting. And now like we've got Tatum who can't fucking do anything without being made fun of by every other NBA fan base, and it's like I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Go Celtics. All right, so I'm gonna make this final portion of current events rather slim, just because I'm not super educated on everything that's involved. I'm kind of just gonna speak my feelings of the past week, the past couple months leading up to that, and I'm gonna try not to get like too doom brained, but I mean things aren't looking great. And if you don't know, um, Trump and Zelensky had a meeting of sorts, and you've seen the clips. It did not go well. And I don't know, since it's happened, I've kind of been at a weird vibe. I cannot lie. It's kind of affected me in a way that I wasn't expecting. Having all of Europe basically feel betrayed by us, and Ukraine specifically feeling very betrayed by us, is not a great feeling to have. And just to know of everything that's came already and everything that is still to come, it's kind of hard not to be pretty feeling dread, I guess. Because that's the only way I can really describe it. It's just this overwhelming sense of dread. And I don't know. I don't know what the way forward is. The only like little positive that there's a couple positives I'm having in my mind, which is either the younger generation of Americans, including myself, which I know some of this is on me, but once we either learn how to revolt effectively, or, and I'm not saying like anything crazy, but like effectively speak our mind and say that this is not acceptable, this kind of fall into oligarchy and in some ways fascism. I'm speaking way too above my pay grade. Sorry, if this is not what you want in this show. I'm trying. I do not plan to be like this often, but given the circumstances, I think it's worth noting because it does affect me. And so there's either that or just not enough bad can happen in 4 years, and maybe the fucking Democrats or someone can push forward someone that actually has like secured competence, like not Bernie specifically, but like the same feeling of enough people being like, oh yeah, this guy like knows what he's doing at least. Or woman. I didn't mean to like be gendered in that fact, but it came out, my fault. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, all in all, it's just not a good look. It's not a good feeling. I think he's addressing the nation, like speaking about tariffs today. I might watch it. I might not. I need to get this episode out, so if it affects me enough, I'll talk about it next week. But yeah, this is where I'm at. I feel pretty dreadful, all in all. But fuck it, we ball. Well, that does it for this week's episode of Fear of Boredom. If there's one thing I hope for week by week, it is to just somehow get a little bit better. Of course, I won't truly know my feelings until things are all edited together, but you'll hear those in the closing thoughts section. I think that if I treat each episode like its own accomplishment just by being uploaded, it'll keep me motivated through the beginning process of this until I find other ways to keep myself striving to be better. I'm hoping that this format felt a little smoother. Something about episode 1 just felt off, so that's likely what I'm most hoping to see, is how that change kind of translates to this. I want to take a minute again to thank you for watching this, whether you stumbled upon it, came from another video, or whatever the case may be. The fact that you're here means the most. Next week we will hopefully complete more fixation selections and some conclusive thoughts on my experiences, as well as hopefully more spins. Please feel free to comment below any thoughts you may have on how the show can improve, or just thoughts in general. You can also reach me at my email, both on the screen and in the description. Make sure to subscribe if you want, but only if you liked as well, and I hope to see you all here again next week. But if not, we'll save you a seat for next time. And to send us off, myself, with some reflections on the show and how I hope to be better. Okay, so just got done recording episode 2. My thoughts are, I'm happier with this format, I think. I'm going to continue this way until I figure out something that might feel better. I think it feels good. We were just under an hour for this one, which I was kind of expecting, with having some reflections. Not as much as I was really hoping for. I hope to find more time to actually enjoy some things, like do some of the selections that I have done for the fixation station. And yeah, but all in all, I think we're moving forward. I'm really excited. I like where this is going. I think the ways I want to get better for the next episode is I want to add music to the segments that don't have any background audio. It's just me talking, maybe some background music to play, some royalty-free stuff just to, fill the void. But yeah, I don't know. All in all, very happy with this. I think my overall satisfaction level is at an 8 out of 10 for this one. I feel like I've given a lot of those across this episode, but yeah, nice.